we can use a loop within a loop. So this is of course allowed, as you can use an if inside a loop, inside an if, inside a loop, and so on. So you can nest this to oblivion if you want to. So now here I can literally say while, let's take one of the examples that we had previously, like calculate the sum of first n numbers. Yeah, we're gonna use this for one final task. So first, let's create a game with a single. Let's give an example here. Like let's do a for I loop. Let's run this 10 times, and now let's do a while loop here inside of this, or another for. It's just the same. And here, let's do another while. Let's do something like int counter count equals 0, and while count is less than, let's say, 3. Print out. Let's print out with a value, print out count, and print out I. And of course, count plus plus here. So now what will happen? Well, let's first discuss it. Of course, this outer loop will run 10 times. But for every run of the outer loop, the inner loop will run its full course. So this loop will run 3 times, and then it'll restart and run 3 times again, and restart and run 3 times again. So it's going to run a total of 30 times. So if we run this, we should be able to easily see how the values change. I should have maybe put I first, but it doesn't really matter. You can see here, count starts off at 0, I starts off at 0. And as long as I is 0, we know that this loop hasn't even finished one execution. It started executing, it put I to 0, it checked the condition, and then it went ahead and ran this loop many times. I'm going to change this to something like rename all occurrences. I'm going to literally name it B, because it's easier when it's all in the same line. When the outputs are going to line up. So you can see here now, and I'm even going to put some stuff like test out a bunch of lines, so it's just easier to see what comes from one iteration of the inner loop. Okay, there we go. So I0B1, I0B0, I0B1, I0B2. And that's when we know these are the 3 runs of the inner for loop. So I could have even put like a larger separator here, like plus, 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 plus. That's going to be telling us when one outer loop has ended. So let's run one final time, and let's check it out. So you can see here, okay, first prints out I and B. It's one iteration of the inner loop, and this is the end of that inner loop. Now I remains the same because, again, we are still not done. We are still running this over and over and over and over. We do that 3 times, and now when B reaches 3, for 2 it prints it out. For 3 it says, are you less than 3? No. Well, then it ends and prints out our separator for the outer loop. So it executed the outer loop once. Now it goes here, increases I to 1, resets B back to 0 because it starts this over, like it gets to this line again. What it did is like this. Then it ran this like 1, twice, 3 times. Then it printed this out. Then it went and increased I by 1. And then it goes and executes this again. Sets B back to 0, runs this 1, 2, 3 times. Once it does that, prints this out. You can see I is 1, I is 1, and I is 1. And B went from 0 to 1 and 2 again. Now it goes back, increases I to 2, pretty much. And of course, we see the separator before that. It ended the loop once. So it increases I to 2, checks whether it's less than 10. Yes, it is. And now it prints B again, resets it back to 0, and goes through the inner loop one more time, 3 times, and so on and so on. We end when I reaches 9. When I reaches 9, it checks whether it's less than 10. Yes, it is. Move on, do it one more time. But when I reaches 10, it simply will not go anymore because I is not less than 10 at that point. It's equal to 10. Okay, and we are going to nest loops for like maximum of 2 loops. Like you will not often see 3 loops nested within each other because it's both hard to understand and almost always completely unnecessary. So we are going to do some more complex tasks with loops within loops. Next class today, we're just going to do a couple more simple ones with a single loop. and we'll see like we'll have 2D arrays. We'll use 2 loops with two-dimensional arrays. We have a whole class dedicated to that, so don't worry about it. Next time we're gonna practice loops. Time after that we're gonna learn arrays, and again practice loops, because loops are used for going through array data. And the time after that we have another 2D array class. So we're gonna practice loops a lot for the next couple of classes, so we will fully understand them. Okay, so this is again allowed. We can have a for loop and a while loop within each other. We can have a for in a for, a while in a while. I mean, anything that you want. So for example, how is this useful? Well, I can have one outer loop looping infinitely, and then an inner loop calculating something. And then, for example, in this task where we had asked the user to enter a number, enter a number. I mean, it's hard to find now, but enter a number. He enters a number, we calculate. Why couldn't we run this over and over and over? We can keep asking the user for a number. When he enters a negative number, we simply say, okay, you've had enough. So let's do that really quickly. I'm going to uncomment this. I'm going to comment this out. Let me just see, so I comment the right thing. There we go. And I'm simply going to wrap this in a while loop. Which part? Well, this part. I don't need to create a scanner every time. Like that would be kind of bad. So here I'm going to say while true, keep running, keep asking the user, enter a number. Then we use the inner loop to calculate the sum, and then we print the sum to the user. Did I not? Here is the thing that prints it out. So let's uncomment it and bring it over here. And now we say enter a number, negative to stop. Enter a positive number, negative to stop. So you can keep entering the numbers to calculate the sum for. When you're done, I haven't really written the code for when you're done, so this is just going to run forever. Enter a positive number, let's say 50, this is the sum. 20, this is the sum. 31, this is the sum. 1, this is the sum. -5, it does really print out the correct sum, so let's fix that. Here, when the user enters a number, we can just say if limit is less than 0, exit or break. Or we could have said keep running equals false. But I prefer the break keyword, because the break keyword is really what we need here. Because we don't necessarily want to run any of this code after. Like if we had used keep running here, we would have to put this in the else branch. I mean, I just prefer it this way, like run forever and then just break once you are done. And that's it. So let's run this. And now we have a completely functioning, and again, it's an example of a loop within a loop. We have a loop here and another loop here. So 9, 5, 4, 3, 5, 10, 25, 300. And the negative to stop, -2, and we are done. That's it. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Let's comment this back. And do you guys have any questions about any of this?